Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning from sunny France.
Yes, not
Is
so
it sunny
sunny,
there?
but yes.
Yeah, it's not so sunny here. I mean, I'm not in France. Katie's in France.
I am in France, yes.
Yes. Um,
Yes.
and
And I,
Kate has lugged all of her stuff there just
mm,
to make sure that she can record. If you do notice that Kate's audio is different, it's just because she's using a different microphone.
yeah, smaller
Um,
one.
it's much more aeroplane friendly.
Yes. And I have to say, I'm at my sister's in France, and so I'm surrounded by many, many, many little rescue animals, and it's delightful. And I've got a little mate called Bear, and he is just the most gorgeous cat that you ever did see.
Oh, there's a dog behind you. Also,
Yeah,
off camera, we can't see what you're stroking.
I
So
know.
just
Yeah, sorry about
so be
that.
a bit mindful. There's a cat on your lap. We can't see that.
No, you don't need to try and get up, mate. He's
No.
this for all of you that are looking on the video. This is Arthur, and he is a little rescue hunt dog. So he used to be part of the hunt out here, and then when he went blind, he was no longer wanted, so he was sent off to be euthanized. So now he lives here, and you are a lovely, lovely little boy.
He looks like an elderly boy.
He is an elderly boy,
Yeah.
and all he wants is love. Like
Well,
that's
isn't
all.
that what we all want?
Yeah, that's all he wants. He just wants love, don't you?
Oh, well, talking of love, we have got a shout out to do.
Shout out!
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Got a
Shout
shout out,
out
Arthur.
to our newest Blamely member. And it's not me, but her name is Sarah. So what a lovely name to have.
Ah, yes,
But
that's an
also
amazing name.
thank you, Sarah, for joining the Blamley. We welcome you with open arms and open hearts. Um,
Thank you so, so much, Sarah. And we received an amazing, was it an email from her?
yeah,
So
yeah.
lovely, so
Oh,
lovely.
honestly,
So
so lovely.
a massive shout out to Sarah, and thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And thank you for being such a loyal supporter all these years. She discovered us about 2 years ago, and
Yep,
yeah, she's been supporting us ever since. And
yep.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you want to join the Blamley, there is a very, very handy link in the episode show notes. Also on the website, just click the button that says join the Blamley, and then that helps us to run the podcast and to
Yes,
continue bringing you episodes because um it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
it's not. It's really not.
No. But yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have got the best random blam. So go. I have held this random blam for the entire week. And I've been
Okay.
telling everybody. I told Hayley the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to tell all my friends." And I told Matt, one of my clients, the other day, because we share facts every week. We share facts, and he gives me some great facts.
Hmm.
And this fact is, so you know how we call rich people posh?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever wondered where that word originated from?
I haven't, but I am wondering now.
Exactly, exactly. So many moons ago, when rich people would travel by boat, they would sit on the port side going out to their destination. And then on their way home, they would sit on the starboard side. So
Right.
that was called port out, starboard home. So
Oh,
that got shorted to the acronym POSH. So that's why rich people were called posh people
wow.
because they would sit port side out and then starboard side home.
Starboard side home.
Posh.
That's so cool. That's a really good one. I love
I
that.
don't know. I've held that all week.
That's really cool. Have you told anyone else, like, while you've been shopping and that, and be like, guess what?
Excuse me.
Excuse me, but do you know? Oh, that's really
No.
cool.
Yeah, it's a cool one, isn't it? I like that one.
Hmm. Yeah, really cool. Love that. I haven't got a random lamb,
Oh, I was really excited for your random blam, Kate.
God's sake. Didn't even think about it. I'd introduce you to the cat as my random blam, but he's wandered over there and is quite comfortable. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, Kate's Random Blam, just for everybody that hasn't heard it yet or that doesn't know, we are going to be at CrimeCon um, this year.
Yeah.
CrimeCon Birmingham, CrimeCon London. So get your tickets, come and join us because it's a great day. It's such a great
Yeah.
day. There's so much there to do, and we've got some amazing giveaways, some freebie stuff that we're working on. So
hmm hmm
come and join us. Use code Perplexed to get 10% off. And if you are part of our Blamily, then we do have a secret special code to get you
hmm
15% off.
We do.
So that's Kate's random blam
Yeah,
that I
that's
so
my
eloquently
random
said.
blam. Thank you very much.
Random blams done.
Done.
Before we start the episode, I want to just do a massive welcome to all of our new listeners, as we have had an influx of new listeners. So
Yeah.
welcome. Whether this is your
Welcome.
first episode or whether this is your 159th,
It's the 160th,
160th.
not including the blams.
Jesus Christ. And we've got I looked at them all the other day. We've got over 40 blams. So if you've caught up with all of our episodes and you're like, oh, I just need more of Sarah and Kate. I need to be more perplexed than I already am.
Yeah.
There are over 40 additional episodes on the Blamley page that you can sink your teeth into. And it's just $5 a month. Done.
Yeah.
Right, let's get on with it because this one, whew.
Oh goodness. Okay. All right. Well, let's episode because I don't want to be crying when my sister gets home. Morning.
Oh, that was much better. That
Morning,
was really
morning.
morning,
Morning, morning.
everybody. So this episode, I'm just going to dive right into it because Kate,
Mm,
I wanted to cover this episode for quite a few reasons, and the more I researched this case,
mm,
the more passionate I became about sharing this story, sharing the legacy that is left behind, sharing the message that comes with this episode. And I personally found this episode very upsetting
oh,
for reasons I can't even put my finger on. I mean, it's obviously an upsetting thing that happened, but it just got me in ways that, like Ed Gein didn't,
mm,
or Willie Picton, those sorts of things didn't. This
yeah.
one got right to my heart, this one.
Oh,
So
goodness.
I'm going to put a trigger warning out now. This might hit home for a lot of people. It
Okay.
might, a lot of our listeners might relate to this episode. I think that's why I found it quite difficult.
Okay.
And I just wanted to address something before I start as well, because a lot of people have mentioned about my episodes and that they're quite descriptive and that they're quite detailed. And I just wanted to put it out there that I don't put all of these horrific details and things like that into my episodes for shock value or for
No.
like other reasons or anything like that. I put in these details because that is what happened.
Yeah.
So this was someone's reality.
Yeah. I agree.
So who am I to gloss over these details of what that person went through just
Mm,
because it might offend somebody or somebody doesn't want to hear it? As hard as it is to hear it, it is so necessary to fully understand what that person went through.
yeah. Because do you think they wanted to experience that? No.
Absolutely. So although I do put a lot of detail in, and it is, it is hard to hear, and I understand that, but it is
Mm,
necessary because, like you say, that person, that was a reality for somebody.
yeah.
Um, so I don't feel I would be doing anybody any justice by just glossing over those details just to make it lovelier for everybody.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this is a gnarly one.
Okay. Yeah, I've got to say I'm in full agreement with you. I find it very difficult to listen to, but so what? Poor me.
Yeah.
So poor me because I find it uncomfortable to listen to what someone went through. It's not for us to put these things to one side and go, yeah, well, anyway, I'm not going to go into that detail because you don't want to all hear that.
Yeah.
I agree, Poddy.
Cool.
Hmm.
So this is the story of Sophie Lancaster and Robert Maltby.
I don't
Sophie
know who they
Lancaster,
are.
you will do. You will. A lot of our listeners won't know this case. This is a UK case.
Okay.
Sophie Lancaster was born on the 26th of November 1986 in Haslingden, a small town in Lancashire. Her mother, Sylvia, describes her as being a very independent little girl. She was strong-willed. She was her own person from a very young age. She didn't need to impress anybody. She wasn't the type of girl that needed to surround herself with lots of friends. She was quite comfortable with who she was. She had a few friends, but she just preferred her own company. But despite the fact that she was quite solitary, she was very warm-hearted. She was very loving, very caring. Her mother said that she was more mature than kids her age, and she found their behavior, other kids her age, she kind of found them a little bit silly. Their behavior was childish. So she would just rather sit in a room and read. Now, Sophie loved to read. She was an avid, hungry reader, sometimes consuming a book a day. A girl after my own heart.
Hmm.
From the age of 6, Sophie decided that she wanted to be a vegetarian. She didn't agree with killing animals for food, and it wasn't just like a phase or something induced by someone else. She was strong-willed. This was her belief, and she stuck to that from the age of 6. Her mother describes her as being a complex child, a child that wanted her independence, spoke up for what she stood for and what she believed in. And from what her mother says about her, it kind of, I feel like Hayley's very much the same, like my daughter. She was very strong-willed. You know, she wasn't shy about standing up for anybody. If she felt something was wrong, she would absolutely say it.
Yeah.
But then that backlash that she would get still hurts. You know, they're
Yeah.
still quite loving and they want the best for everybody. So what a great quality to have. That quality that allows you to be your own person, think your own thoughts, you know, formulate your own ideas and opinions. What a great ability to have. And that's exactly what Sophie had. When she was about 12, she went to stay with a friend in the summer holidays, and her mum said that she didn't really come home. She just stayed there the whole 6 weeks, just having, just being a preteen girl and exploring her identity with her friend and just having a great time. And when she did eventually come home, her mother said she was wearing dark eyeliner, top and bottom, and she had dyed her hair green. And instead of reacting in shock horror, Sylvia remembers thinking, how cool. She looks really cool.
Oh.
And Sophie stayed looking really cool. Sophie liked to dress in dark clothing, wear dark makeup, especially around her eyes. She had dark black hair, often dyeing it green or pink or,
Hmm.
various different shades. She sometimes had green and black dreads or green and
Nice.
red dreads. And as she got older, she started getting facial piercings, ears, lips. From the outside, people would say she resembled the Gothic culture, but it's not necessarily a term that Sophie ever used to describe herself. She just dressed as she wanted to dress. She wore what she wanted to wear. She did what she wanted to do. She was just authentically herself.
Good.
In her teens, she attracted a group of friends similar to her, and it was in this group that she met Robert Maltby. She was probably around 17 and he was a similar age. I think he was a little bit older than her, a couple of months, maybe verging on a year. And they were just two kindred spirits, cut from the same cloth. They just absolutely adored each other and eventually moved in with each other when they were around 18, 19. They were a very normal teenage couple. They hung out with their group of friends around the town of Bacup, which is not far from Sophie's home and where she went to study her A levels. The Bacup is described as the most well preserved old English cotton mill towns.
Hmm.
It is surrounded by historical buildings, really old, the type of like buildings that you just love to see, which made it a popular place for TV shows to be filmed, like Peaky Blinders, and The
Oh,
League of Gentlemen. But despite its beauty, Bacup had and still has a huge issue with antisocial behaviour. Wayward youths, young offenders, drink, drugs. So Sophie and her friends often stayed away from the town after becoming the victims of verbal and sometimes physical assaults by such wayward teens. They often spent their evenings in the graveyard, which is a bit of a morbid place to hang out with your friends, but it was a safe place for them. It wasn't a place where other teens hung out. In 2007, when Sophie was 20, she decided she was going to take a gap year. She wanted to enjoy her time just doing things that she either wanted to do alone or with Rob before she went back to studying. She decided to get a degree in English. She wanted to either be a journalist or a youth worker. Her love of reading had stayed with her into adulthood. Her mum said that she would even walk down the street with a book in her hand, and one
hmm.
time walked straight into a lamppost
Oh,
because she had this book
been
in
there,
her
done
face.
that. Yep.
Yep, been there, done that. Yep.
Yeah.
On the evening of the 10th of August 2007, Sophie and Rob had been out drinking round a friend's house, just being, you know, they were in their early 20s now, so just being
Yeah.
um, young adults,
Young adults, yeah.
young adults. And they decided to head home around 11:40 p.m. On their way home, they stopped at a 24-hour petrol station so that Rob could buy some cigarettes. While they were there, they were stopped by a group of teenagers. Now, reports on this vary. Some say they met a group of girls, others say that this is where they met their attackers. But this doesn't change anything really. Whoever they met at the station was friendly. The exchange was friendly. Sophie and Rob's appearance seemed to have attracted these teenage girls' attention, and they were interested, and they wanted photos with them. They were, Rob and Sophie. They looked great to see them walking down the street. They did attract people's attention. Um, so whatever happened at the garage made the couple feel at ease enough to decide to take the long way home and walk with the group of teens. This long route home took the couple through a park called Stubby Lee Park. Now, this park was a notorious hotspot for antisocial behaviour, as all parks generally are.
Yeah.
There was a skate park, like half pipe, things like that. And I don't know about other countries, but it generally is skate parks are the place for teens to hang out.
Yeah.
I did it. You all just sit around on the half pipe. There's other teens there, and it's generally the place where antisocial behaviour happens.
Generally the sort of place that I avoid at all costs as a fully grown adult.
Absolutely.
Nope.
So, um, the unfortunately the parks are a place where things do happen. Teens hang out, especially at midnight on a Friday evening, which it was. The park was filled with other teens that had been drinking.
Mm.
At some point, Sophie and Rob came into contact with a large group of these such teens, mostly made up of 15, 16-year-old boys. It seems that whatever interaction they had at first was polite. Witnesses say that Rob was sharing cigarettes with them. This group was formed of a set of brothers, Joseph Holm and Danny Holm. Daniel Mallet, Brendan Harris, and Ryan Herbert, all members of the self-named Bacup terror group.
Oh, God.
As such, teens do name themselves. Brendan Harris and Ryan Herbert in particular were nasty boys, both being convicted of ABH, which is actual bodily harm, just 4 months previously for assaulting and stamping on another 16-year-old boy, and they both received community service for their crimes. I can only assume Sophie and Rob felt intimidated by the group, despite their somewhat friendly interactions, because at some point, one of the group members shouted that they should beat up Rob, completely out of the blue. So Ryan Herbert decided that he would step up to that challenge, and he decided to hit Rob in the face. A slap. So Rob let out a shocked laugh. I don't think he probably had time to process what had happened. It just seemed so ridiculous that he let out this little laugh.
Yeah.
And I can only assume that this little laugh in a group of testosterone-fueled teens filled them with pure rage. And all 5 boys jumped on Rob. As Sophie screamed in terror, screamed for help for the boys to stop, she watched as her boyfriend lay helpless on the ground, covering his head as best as he could as the boys repeatedly aimed savage kicks at his head and face. At some point, one of the boys tried to stand up for Rob, saying he hadn't done anything wrong, stop. But his voice just mingled in with the screams and shouts from everyone around, and he eventually left the group, leading a screaming girl away from the scene. A witness said that at some point, Rob got to his feet. The group of boys asked him if he needed an ambulance. Rob said no, and the beating continued. 5 sets of feet, relentlessly kicking, stamping, jumping on his head until he felt silent and limp. Whether Rob was unconscious or dead, the boys didn't know and didn't care. He was quiet, he was still, he was absolutely covered in blood. And they decided that was enough, and they walked away. Sophie had witnessed the entire unprovoked attack, and she was screaming for help. She went down on her knees and gently picked Rob's swollen, bleeding head up and held it in her lap, pleading for the many witnesses in the park to do something. But the witnesses were scared. Unbeknownst to Sophie, the gang hadn't left. 2 boys in particular were running back towards them, Brendan Harris and Ryan Herbert. Sophie had her back to them and had no idea they were returning until she felt the full force of their return. One of the boys, running at full speed, jumped and landed a 2-footed kick in the centre of her back.
Why?
You can imagine the ferocity of this attack sent her flying. She was 5'2", slim. She was tiny, smaller than these boys. It would have knocked the wind entirely from her lungs. Sprawled on the ground, desperately trying to get air back into her lungs. I can imagine her brain probably hadn't even registered what had happened before they were upon her, attacking her just as viciously as they did Rob. Using their feet, aiming blow after blow to her head and face, stamping on her head, jumping into the air, landing on her with their whole body weight that was far more than her own. Meanwhile, a young girl in the park finds the courage to call an ambulance. The audio from this call is deeply upsetting and really shows just how awful this attack was.
I can see the ambulance, please. I can't see where it's going. It will do, don't worry. Calm down for a minute. It's coming. It's coming. And we're not going anywhere, but I need you to calm down. Yeah, and you to be able to tell the paramedics if it's panicking, you can tell them, but you stay calm.
The girl is frantic. She's desperate for the ambulance to turn up. And the ambulance, it seems, actually went to the wrong park and ended up arriving at the park around 12 minutes later than it would have if it had gone to the right park.
Brilliant.
While the girl waited for the ambulance, she and the other boy that had left the group earlier tried their best to tend to Rob and Sophie. They took their shirts off to stem the bleeding. They could hear that Sophie was struggling to breathe through the blood, so they moved her head ever so slightly. When the ambulance arrived, they were greeted by a horrifically brutal scene. Both Rob and Sophie lay unconscious, barely alive, blood everywhere. Both beaten so badly that paramedics couldn't ascertain who was who, male or female.
God.
Both their faces were swollen beyond recognition. They were immediately blue lighted to the hospital. While Rob and Sophie were fighting for their lives in the back of an ambulance, the boys, still roaming the streets of Bacup, boasted about their actions, telling people they had just done something good, saying, "There's two moshers nearly dead up Bacup Park. You want to see them? They're a right mess." I'm going to scoot over the word mosher for now, and I will come back to it shortly.
Okay.
Police, though, were very quickly able to round up the witnesses in the park and track down the 5 boys responsible for the attack. Ryan Herbert, in particular, was very well known to the police for his antisocial behaviour. Police described him as a local menace, a bully. He preyed on younger, weaker people. After interviewing 15 witnesses, the 5 boys responsible, Joseph Holm, Danny Holm, Daniel Mallet, Brendan Harris and Ryan Herbert, were all charged with causing grievous bodily harm to Sophie and Robert. Now, all of these boys are aged between 15 and 16. At the hospital, Rob was put in a coma to help his body heal and responded well to treatment. Sophie's mum, Sylvia, was initially told that Sophie had no fractures to her skull, no breakages. She would need time to recover, but would be on the mend. Sylvia described seeing her daughter for the first time. Her face a mixture of black and purple. Her eyes swollen shut, black and crusted with blood, leaking fluid. Shoe prints marked her body and head. A huge chunk of hair had been ripped from her skull. Her neck was black with bruising, shiny like a bin bag. Arms marked with bruises and cuts. Wounds from an obvious attempt to shield her head from the attack. After a few days, Sophie was taken out of her coma to see how much she was responding. But she was violently sick, throwing up, her eyes rolling, looking but not seeing. As Robert slowly recovered from his injuries, Sophie deteriorated. By day 5, Sylvia was told her daughter was brain dead. She would never recover from the attack. Police made the unusual decision to send in a forensic pathologist to assess Sophie's injuries. It was quite clear that Sophie wasn't going to recover from her injuries, and police didn't want the full extent of her injuries to fade. The forensic pathologist found that Sophie's head and brain injuries were so severe because of the force of the kicks to both sides of her head. So if she'd been kicked in the head just on one side, the head has the ability to move with the kick, diffusing the impact. But the pathologist found that Sophie had been attacked on both sides of her head at the same time, meaning that the full impact of each attack had been completely encased inside her head. 13 days after the attack, Sophie's parents made the heartbreaking decision to take Sophie off life support. Her body had become bloated, her organs were failing, she wouldn't have wanted to live like that. It took Sophie Lancaster 20 minutes to go, and she died on the 24th of August 2007, aged 20, as a direct result of injuries that she sustained from an unprovoked attack. She died surrounded by those that loved her, cradled in her mother's arms. Police found that the entire reason for the unprovoked attack was because of the word that I glossed over earlier, moshes. Moshes being a slang derogatory term for a goth. Now, if you read anywhere about this case or listen to any podcasts about this case, it's here that they will tell you that Sophie Lancaster and Robert Maltby were attacked because they were goths, because they looked different. That is not true.
Oh.
They were attacked because of a group of vile human beings.
Yeah.
Boys that didn't value other people's lives. Boys that felt they had something to prove. I can't bear hearing people say that Sophie was murdered because she was a goth.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She was murdered because those boys decided to murder her. The onus is 1,000% on those boys.
On them, yeah. It's nothing to do with Sophie, yeah.
After Sophie's death, the charges against all 5 boys were turned to murder to coincide with the GBH charges for Robert, and all pled not guilty to murder.
What?
However, when the trial came in March 2008, Robert Herbert pled guilty to Sophie's murder, and then Brendan Harris was also found guilty of her murder. Based on evidence that they found at his home, the blood spattering on his shoes, the blood spattering on the bottom of his jeans, and also a recorded, they secretly bugged, I think, the back of a police van or something like that, and they heard him basically say that he'd kicked her head like a football. The 3 boys, or the 3 other boys, were all found guilty of GBH and were given very short terms. I think the highest term they were given was 5 years and something, but others were given 4 years. Ryan Herbert was given life in prison with a minimum term of 16 years and 3 months, and Brendan Harris was given life in prison with a minimum term of 18 years. The judge used the hate crime legislation to increase the minimum terms for both boys, but with Ryan's being lesser because of his guilty plea. All 5 boys appealed the sentencing, and Ryan actually won his appeal, and his minimum term was lessened slightly by 9 months. So instead of having to serve a minimum of 16 years and 3 months, it was like a minimum of 15 years and something. Because they felt that the judge hadn't really appreciated his guilty plea.
Oh, cough.
While in prison in January 2013, Brendan Harris threatened to kill and then assaulted a psychiatric nurse at the secure hospital that he was being held in. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, suffers from paranoid, auditory and visual hallucinations, and he was sentenced to a further 4 months in prison. In August 2016, Ryan Herbert appealed to the Court of Appeals in an attempt to further reduce his sentence. The court heard evidence that Ryan had been involved in at least 15 disciplinary incidences, including multiple fights during his first 5 years in prison. The most serious of these involved punching another inmate and kicking him in the head before attacking a member of prison staff. His appeal was dismissed. But on just 4 years later, in February 2022, Ryan Herbert had his minimum sentence further cut to 14.5 years, as a High Court judge concluded that he had made exceptional progress in prison. It was in 2022 as well, in the August, that he was transferred to an open prison, and then he was eventually released on license in March 2022. So he is out. Brendan Harris will become available or eligible for parole in November 2025. So he's eligible for parole. I don't think it's even been heard yet.
Right.
Robert Maltby recovered from his injuries. And I glossed over really their sentencing and things like that because I didn't really want the story to be about their sentencing. It's
Yeah.
about Sophie and Rob. So if you do want to know more about the sentencing and what they received and whatever else, then let me know. But I wanted to talk more about Rob. So Rob recovered from his injuries, and I use the word recovered loosely.
Mm.
He lost all memory of the hours before the attack and the attack itself. Now, you may think that that is a blessing, but Rob describes how hard it was for him not being able to help the police with their investigation.
Yeah.
Rob's whole life changed after that attack. Yes, he might not have died, but he had to live with being the one to survive. He
Mm.
wishes that Sophie had just left him to die. He wishes that she had just run and had never tried to help. Rob hasn't done many interviews since the attack, but in one interview, he said something that really stuck with me. And it really hurt my heart.
Oh.
And I found it really difficult to put into words how it made me feel. And
Mm.
I said to Josie, I was like, I need to talk to you about something that's really upset me, but I don't know why it's upset me, and I don't know how to express that upset. So we talked about it for a little bit. And he says something like, in this interview, he says, I can understand why they beat me up. As a man, I expect to be beaten up, but you don't do that to a girl. Now, as women, we often share our views on not feeling safe when walking alone,
Mm.
fearing an attack. If there's a man walking behind us, we don't feel safe, we feel fear. And there's that whole debate recently about I'd choose the bear, that whole debate. We're quite vocal about feeling that way.
Mm.
But I hadn't ever considered how other men might feel when approached by another man, because
Mm.
as boys, they're told you don't hit a girl. From a young age, children are taught not to hit girls. But what about boys? Boys are left by the by, and it's
Mm.
even considered like girls can hit boys because they know a boy can't hit back. And I remember when I was little, my brother was an absolute shit. He's
Mhm.
not a nice person. And everybody knows I'm very, very placid. I'm not
Yeah.
an angry person, but he done something that just fully enraged me. My temper went like that in an
Yeah.
instant. And I chased him out the house and I had him up against the fence and I was hitting him. And I remember my mum shouting, do not hit her back.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not okay.
No.
Are we sending our boys to school with other boys fearing that they will get beaten up?
Yeah.
Do boys and men walk about worried that they might be attacked by another man? You know, as as girls, we go to school, and we fear that other girls are going to be bitchy, other girls are going to say horrible things.
Mm.
But do boys go to school going, that boy said he's going to beat me up, or I'm worried that boy's going to beat me up? They just expect to be beaten up because they're boys.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from women how we feel, and everything, but it just made me so sad to hear Rob say, as a man,
I
I
expect.
expect to
Yeah.
be beaten up.
I think
Because
that goes back into two other episodes that we did about the toxic masculinity,
that,
isn't it?
right. So my next sentence is that. So I said to Josie, I spoke to Josie about it and how I was feeling, and she hit the nail on the head and she said, toxic masculinity.
Mm.
If you don't fall into this category of being a masculine man, this stereotypical manly man who likes football and drinks beer,
Yeah.
if you don't fall into that category as a man, do you fear that man?
Yeah.
If you're walking down the street and you see this big masculine man and you know that that's not stereotypically you and you fall into a different category,
Yeah.
does that man intimidate you?
Mm. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
I've heard a lot of this in the last 6 months, really, with, some of Jessie's friends because they're all 16, 17 years old. And I've spoken to one of Jesse's friends recently, and he said the same thing. He said when there's like boys at school or at college or whatever, and they're kind of you can see that they're getting a little bit boisterous. He said it instantly makes me nervous because if they say something that's inappropriate to one of the girls, I am expected as like the boy of the group, I am going to be expected, or I am expected to say something to that other boy, but I don't want to
For fear of
because,
being beaten
yeah,
up.
because I'm looking at that boy thinking he would wipe the floor with me,
Yeah.
and so these 16, 17-year-old boys are sort of desperate to like go to the gym and build themselves up and stay out of any sort of confrontation. Otherwise, they could be beaten up,
Yeah.
So I absolutely do think that that is the case.
But
A lot of
how do you
pressure.
change that? Because it's this idea of toxic masculinity, isn't it? This gym going, this buff big man.
Yeah.
But actually, being a masculine man isn't about that, is it? It's
No, it
being
isn't.
able to show your emotions. It's being
Yeah.
able to feel
Show
empathy and
vulnerability.
compassion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what we need to be teaching our this inclusivity
Yeah.
about every single person.
Hmm.
And it honestly, it just made me so sad
Yeah.
to think that, like, especially with Isaac does not fall into the category of a boy's boy, and he
Yeah.
will not be a manly man. Absolutely not. Is he afraid of those other boys?
Yeah.
We send him to school with these other kids, and
Don't be teaching your children don't hit girls.
don't
Teach them
hit,
don't hit.
don't hit. Absolutely. Be inclusive, whether it's the boy that cries because he's emotional,
Yeah.
just be inclusive.
Yeah.
I guarantee if those boys, those 15, 16-year-old boys in that park didn't feel the need to prove that they were big, strong, hard men,
Mm.
this attack would not have happened.
No.
If they didn't feel like they had something to prove, because that one boy said, "Oh, let's beat him up." He's gone, "Oh, I feel obligated now to beat him up." And
Yeah.
then the rest of the boys have gone, "Well, I feel obligated to now as well,
Mm.
because otherwise those other boys might attack me because I'm
Yeah.
I'm
I'm gonna
not
get
doing."
called a wimp.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after Sophie's death, Sophie's mum, Sylvia, started a foundation in her honour, and it's called the Sophie Foundation. And Sophie being an acronym for Stamp Out Prejudice, Hate, and Intolerance Everywhere.
Nice.
What a great way to use her name.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's about educating people about hate crimes. So she would go into schools and speak at different events. On the website, it says its main objectives are to create a lasting legacy for Sophie, to provide educational groups, works that will challenge the prejudice and intolerance towards people from alternative subcultures, and to campaign to have the UK hate crime legislation extended to include people from alternative subcultures. That meaning that it is not classified a hate crime if you attack somebody because they look different to you.
Right.
So they want to try and change the law to include that as a
That.
hate crime.
Okay. Got you. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, they did a survey actually. The survey is on the website, and it is so they run this on the part of the website, and it's called ACT, and it's called Alternative Communities Together, and they put out a survey to this alternative communities, and the survey says that 27% of the alternative communities have been threatened or harassed in person. 56% had been physically attacked. 84% felt anxious. 27% said that their experience had made them feel suicidal. 73% of alternate subculture hate crime goes unreported. 73%. 69% of those who did report were dissatisfied with police response. Sylvia died unexpectedly in 2022, but
Oh,
Sophie's legacy continues. The website still runs. The charity continues by the many, many people that support its work. And that is the end of the episode. But this, when I
we'll
just
put
start,
all the information for this and Sophie's page and all that. We'll put that on the website.
absolutely. But yeah, it just, I've mentioned before in another episode that the episodes that really get to me are those ones that are just completely senseless.
Yeah, and none more so than that. That's
None more so than that.
absolutely ridiculous.
And it, oh, honestly, when we spoke about episodes that leave scars, this one, because
I know you've
it,
really struggled with this one.
oh gosh, it's been so difficult. In 2007, I was 17 and I was, you know, wearing grunge type bottoms. I had chain on my trousers. I had,
Yeah,
dark makeup. I had black and pink hair. What's to
love
say
that.
that couldn't have been me? Or it couldn't have been anyone. We all go through this stage, and although it wasn't a stage for Sophie, that's who she was. She liked to dress
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But everybody, all the kids go and explore who they are and dress differently and try out these different alternative styles and things.
It's
And
it's it's been done for time, for all of time. My mum and dad would look back at pictures of them when they were younger and go, "Oh my God, what was I thinking?"
yeah,
Yeah, but I love that. I love that look. But
yeah,
when you look back now, you think, "Oh my God, I did. I went through a proper like grunge phase where my hair was all back combed, I had black lipstick on.
mm,
I loved it. I
yeah,
loved it. I still love parts of that, but it's not a crime to find your identity for that moment in your life. It's not a crime.
absolutely.
And it's not, no one else has got a say in that. If your kids
Yeah,
come downstairs and they go, look, mum, look, dad, I shaved my head, you'd go, Jesus. But so what?
yeah,
So what? Let everyone do their own thing and find their own identity. If you wake up in the morning, you think, do you know what? I feel like having pink hair today. It's nothing to do with anyone else.
yeah, definitely. Just the fact that, like I said, if you listen to another episode or do any research, there's a documentary and it's called Murdered for Being Different.
Okay.
That's not why they were murdered. They were murdered
No.
because these boys were ignorant.
Yeah.
And I just feel like whenever you have the narrative of they were murdered for goths or they were murdered because of the way they looked, that puts the onus on them.
Yeah.
That puts the blame on the victim because, oh, they were murdered because they chose to be goths. That's not okay.
Yeah. 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 No, I get that.
So
Oh,
that
that
whether this episode upsets people, I mean, whether it offends anybody,
it's no,
this is my opinion.
well, certainly from my side, there's nothing in there that's offensive. And if you find it hard to listen to, then to be fair, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Yeah, because it is difficult to listen to because we don't want to think that that's the reality, that people are just being attacked needlessly in the park and killed just because they walked through it and someone went,
Yeah.
I don't really
I
like how
don't,
you're looking today.
yeah. Yeah.
That is the reality. And like I said earlier, I did include those details because that is what they went through. They went through the most brutal attack, kicking someone in the face, man,
Yeah.
stamping on their head. Let's not do that.
No.
That's never a
And
good idea, is it?
I appreciate you saying that as well, because that is exactly how I feel. When you say to people, like if I talk to people about having a brain tumor, and I say, oh, it was particularly horrible when I had to have this, and this done. You know, I really struggled with that emotionally and that. And people say, yeah, but you're all right now, aren't you? I kind of get that feeling of like, that's not really for you to say.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
weird, I'm not describing it massively well, but that's because
Yeah,
I'm
I know
so
what you
eloquent.
mean.
But yeah, I feel like if someone's been through something and someone else
Don't
maybe finds it a
fantasify
little
it.
bit difficult, yeah, don't
Yeah.
sort of go, yeah, well, you know, you're all right now, so, you know, moving on and all that. And it's like, that's not for you to like belittle it. It feels like
Yeah.
you're making something light out of it. So I think when people say, oh, yeah, I don't want to hear all the details, I find, you know, it's not necessary. It's like, why should you close your eyes to it and shut your ears for it? Because that person actually went through that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And I do get that it is difficult for people to listen to, because it is hard, and some people don't have the emotional capacity for it.
yeah,
And that's okay if you don't, that's why we put a trigger warning out. If you don't want to listen to it, fine.
yeah,
But that I don't put in those details to glorify it or to
no,
shock everybody and to be like, oh gosh, yeah, that was brutal. Do it because it is the reality. That is the reality of what happened. Our
yeah,
job as podcasters is to explain what happened to that victim,
hmm,
and that is what happened to that victim.
yeah. Give them a
So
voice, give this world some kind of understanding, and hopefully change will happen. That
yeah.
is ultimately that is what we hope for.
Yeah, because this is why we started this as well, is that without discussion, you don't change your thought pattern. Sometimes you
No,
don't think of the different side, or you don't think of something else. If you're teaching your child, you mustn't hit a girl, you mustn't hit a girl, that's great. But then if you heard this and gone, oh, actually, geez, I should have been saying don't hit anyone. But
yeah,
if that's just the narrative, isn't it? You grow up
yeah,
being taught don't hit a girl, so you teach your child don't hit a girl.
yeah.
We know that's not okay, so we do need to change that.
Yeah, violence, as much as, you know, in certain circumstances, I'm a fan. Violence actually doesn't help for the most part. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, self-defense. I'm all for it. I am all for it. Self-defense, violence. You don't go around fucking attacking people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just mind your own business.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the end of the episode. Done.
Thank you. I know that was really hard for you.
Oh, it was so difficult. Oh,
I
so
know I've
difficult.
spoken to you several times in the last sort of couple of weeks, and I know you've sort of been like, "Oh my God, I'm really struggling with this." But you know,
Yeah.
well done for doing it and getting it out there. And we'll put we'll put a very well thought out, put together case file for them with links of everything and all the information on sentencing, things like that. If you're interested and you
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
want
pop
to
it on the
see
case
them,
file.
yeah, um, yeah. Thank you for that, Poddy.
You are welcome.
Got a dog's head resting on my arm.
Oh, I can see actually.
Yeah,
Bless
he's
him.
upside down, but he's off the sofa, so
He didn't want to hear the story.
I'm holding his head. Oh no. Yeah.
Right. Well, until next time then.
Thank you very much, Poddy, and we
You're
will
very
see
welcome.
you all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
That might be it for today's episode, but if you fancy even more weird and wonderful episodes,
Head over to perplexedpodcast.com and become a Blamley member for just $5 a month.
you'll get an extra episode every month, plus loads of juicy bonus bits, like really in-depth case files.
All the links are in the show notes.
Come hang out with us on socials too.
And don't forget to follow the show and drop us a cheeky review.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Right, only on a medium.